House of Representatives passed the HEROES Act. Today we're going to talk about what the Senate Republicans and the President want to see in their version of the stimulus bill. And it's raining outside, which is fitting and a bit ironic, I think. Hey there, my name is Jim Hart. I'm the founding attorney here at Hawthorn Law, where we help online businesses get their legal house in order so that you can focus on what you do best, and that is building something that truly matters in the world. Today, we're going to continue with our coverage of the stimulus package and what's going on there. And I think it's really important to understand why I'm doing these videos for you. It's because we're coming up on the end of another month. And at the end of another month, it means another month where your rent payment's gonna be due, your mortgage payment's gonna be due, you might be out of work, you might have childcare issues because your kids are out of school. Trust me, I understand what that's like. My kids have been out of school since March. They're not going back to school this year, and my wife and I have been tag teaming who's watching them during the day and doing virtual school, which is a lot of fun, let me tell you. Anyway, your first stimulus check is probably gone at this point, assuming you've already received it, which I hope you have. So you might be a little scared right now, and you're wondering what is going to happen? What is next? What is our government going to do to help us out of this crisis that we're going through? Are you going to get another check? Are you going to get multiple checks? Are you going to be able to meet ends meet next month? Are you even going to be able to buy groceries this week? I mean, this is literally what a lot of Americans are going through right now. They're asking themselves these type of questions. So in my opinion, there is a lot at stake here if our government does not act quickly and fast to move things along. My goal with these stimulus updates is to provide you with important news and updates, and also give you a little bit of the legal perspective, because I am a lawyer, about what all these packages mean and how, practically speaking, they will work, and whether or not there's a likelihood that these packages are going to actually get passed and become law. I'm trying to remain as unbiased as possible, although some of you probably know that I lean a little bit to the left. There's a lot of other people out there that are doing videos. There's accountants, there's people that don't have any formal professional education that are doing videos, and as far as I can tell, there's not any lawyers that I've seen that are giving their own opinion, but there might be some out there. If there are, comment below and let me know about them. So what I want to do with you today, I've given the Democrat side. I've talked about the HEROES Act in a couple different videos. I'll link those up here. And now I want to talk to you about what the Republicans are looking for in their proposal, which is, initially the Senate Republicans said that the Democrats, that the HEROES Act would be dead on arrival in the Senate. But Mitch McConnell is starting to give some hints that he's going to be looking at some things. But he's got some proposals, so we're going to talk about those. The president has, I guess you can call it a proposal if you really wanted to. We're going to talk about that a bit. And then finally, we're going to talk about what the timing of all these things is going to be and how soon you might see some relief, if you're going to see some relief moving forward. So let's start with what the Republicans want. And Mitch McConnell is quoted as saying, "We're going to insist on doing narrowly targeted legislation if and when we do legislate again, and we may well." What that means to me is that Mitch McConnell, even though he's been saying from the get-go that they don't have no intention of taking up another stimulus, I think that he knows that it's inevitable, that they're going to need to do something else, and now he's starting to kind of backtrack his words a little bit and hinting that the Senate is going to take up some new legislation. But what's it going to look like? And that's the big million-dollar question, right? So there's two main things that the Senate wants to see, that the Senate Republicans, I should say, want to see in this bill. The first one is going to be liability protection for businesses that are open during this pandemic. What that looks like and how that's going to work still remains to be seen, but that's the first thing they want. The second thing they want to see is they want some sort of reform to the unemployment benefits that have already been passed as part of the CARES Act. So let me give you my thoughts on this. What Senate Republicans want is they want the company to reopen as quickly as possible and things to just go back to normal and just forget this whole thing ever happened. And to get to that point, it seems to me that what they're thinking they need to do is give businesses some sort of guarantee that they can't get sued if people get sick as a result of the fact that they're open for business. That's a good idea in theory. There needs to be some sort of standards regarding how the businesses are going to be operating if they're going to get this liability shield. And that remains to be seen. I think it's a good idea, honestly. I mean, yes, if businesses are going to be open, then provided they meet certain standards and they've done what they can do to protect their employees and to protect the public, and they follow the legal requirements to do so, then yes, I would say maybe there should be some sort of insulation from liability, because there's less risk if they follow the standards, right? But if you just want to say we're going to give businesses liability protection, but there's not going to be any standards about what that means or what is going to be required of the business to get that liability protection, then I think that's probably a not very good idea, just in terms of the public health, to be honest. All right, the second thing the Republicans want is they want to reform the unemployment benefits. I think reform is a nice way to say they want to cut them. And the reason they want to do that is they want workers to go back to work as quickly as possible. And if workers are staying at home collecting unemployment checks, they have no incentive to go back to work, which makes a lot of sense, I think. However, the entire reason why they passed the CARES Act and why they're giving out these unemployment benefits in the first place is because they don't want workers rushing back to work and getting everybody sick and putting themselves in harm's way. So I think it remains to be seen what that would look like. I think if a bill went to the House of Representatives that was passed by the Senate that said we're going to insulate businesses from liability for coronavirus with no standards, and we're going to cut unemployment benefits, I think that in the House of Representatives that's going to be dead on arrival. So as far as we know, I did a lot of research to try and figure out if there were any other proposals out there. I couldn't find any other proposals from Republicans about what their version of this bill might look like. That's what we got so far. Now, the president has also put out a proposal, and his proposal is basically to give a payroll tax holiday or just cut the payroll tax entirely. I'm not quite sure. And basically what that means, let's give a little bit of background about what the payroll tax is. So the payroll tax is for every dollar you earn, 15.3% of that dollar goes to the federal government to put money into Social Security and Medicare on your behalf. Now, if you're an employee working for a business, what that means is they don't take out 15.3%. What they do is they take out half of that, or 7.65%, and that's the deductions that you see for FICA on your paycheck. The other 7.65% is paid for by your employer. If you're self-employed, however, which means you don't have an employer, that you work for yourself, then you pay the entire 15.3% at the end of the year when you do your taxes, in addition to all your other federal income taxes. Now, where the president says this would benefit people is because, number one, it would give more money to the employers because they wouldn't have to pay the 7.65% of all their payroll. It would give more money to the workers because they wouldn't have to pay 7.65%. They basically would get a raise of 7.65%. And who doesn't want a little raise of 7.65%? And it would also help a self-employed person who would get a 15.3% bump. Now, I think this is a bit misguided because if you're self-employed, chances are you don't see that 15.3% right away. It's just more money that you don't have to pay at the end of the year when you file your taxes. So that is what the payroll tax is. So that's what we're talking about. That's what the president's talking about cutting. Here's why I think this is a horrible idea. Number one, Social Security and Medicare rely on the payroll tax to fund their system. So when you start cutting the payroll taxes, it means there's not enough money going into the Social Security Administration to fund the payments that come out for people that are reliant on those benefits every month. And for people that have paid into the system for, 40 or 50 years, to say, oh, well, now we're going to have to cut your benefits because there's not enough money in the system to pay for you, that would be a problem, I believe. The other part of this proposal that is bad is that this only really helps people that have a job. And since unemployment is kind of at a record level high right now, that's not going to help the majority of the people that actually need the financial benefit. Is it? I don't think so. And then finally, the other part of the president's proposal is to cut the capital gains rate, which, again, that helps the wealthiest of Americans. It doesn't help people that are, living paycheck to paycheck and need money to pay the rent next month. So there's that. So in my opinion, this proposal is also dead on arrival because it's going to require bipartisan support in the Senate as well as the support of a democratically controlled House, neither of which are going to sign off on any type of legislation like this. So I don't see it happening. So you might be wondering, what is the timing on all this stuff? Well, we're right now coming up on the end of May. We're getting close to Memorial Day. I don't see any scenario in which anything's going to happen before Memorial Day. In all likelihood, negotiations will probably start in earnest after the Memorial Day holiday, and hopefully we'll see something get enacted into law by the middle to the end of June at this point. But honestly, it's anyone's guess. Nobody really knows what the timetable is going to be. I think that as the days and weeks go on and Americans are more and more desperate for assistance, and we see unemployment and we see what happens if there's another spike in cases, I think that it could provide the nudge maybe that the senators need to do something and take up this bill and start negotiating with House leaders. So those are my thoughts. If you like what I'm talking about and you want to hear more videos about the stimulus, go right here. Also, I talk a lot about LLCs on this channel, and if you're starting a business and you're wondering about doing that, got another video right here. We'll see you in those videos. Take care, folks. Bye-bye.